Have you ever wished you had a time machine and you could go back in time to talk to your past self and give yourself some good financial advice? Maybe the winning lotto numbers, or tell yourself to invest in Netflix or Amazon. Well, unfortunately, we don't have time machines, but what we do have is we have a lot of people that are older and wiser, and they've already gone through the exact same things that you are going through. So by relying on the wisdom of our elders, we can, in effect, sort of set up a ghetto time machine. We can ask them how it worked out for them and what they would do differently. You see, old people know a lot of stuff. They have a lot of wisdom. And as the insurance commercial would say, they know a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two. Now, I don't consider myself old. I'm in my 30s. But if I could go back and talk to my 18-year-old self or someone in their 20s, these would be the 7 key tips that I would say will set you up for financial success. Number 1, be bold. Be in the present. Take risks and don't be afraid to fail. You see, when you're young, you don't really have a whole lot, so you literally have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So when you have nothing to lose, don't be afraid of losing. Don't be afraid of failure. Thomas Edison is famous for having failed literally thousands of times while trying to perfect the light bulb. See, it doesn't matter how many times you fail. The only thing that matters is that you eventually succeed. Now, a lot of people hate failing because they think that if they fail, that makes them a failure. But that's not the case. The only way that you can be a failure is if you just give up and quit. Keep pushing on. So when you're young and you can take these risks, start a business. And when that business fails, take a step back, evaluate why it was that your business failed, see what you could have done better, fix that problem, and then start again. Keep pushing forward no matter what. And one of the great things about failure is that it's probably the best way to learn. I've actually not learned a lot of things from my success stories. It's all of the times that I failed that I was able to find out a little bit more about how the world works, how business works, where I can fine-tune my strategy and learn from my failures so that I don't repeat those same mistakes again. Number 2, find a mentor. Now, a mentor can be most anyone that's in your sphere of influence. Maybe it's a friend of the family or someone at work that your mom or dad knows or something like that. Maybe it's someone at your church if you go to church. Just find somebody that you know that is crushing it and ask them to be your mentor. And if you don't have somebody like that in your life already, then try to think outside the box. So if you're interested in real estate, a lot of bigger cities have real estate meetups where a lot of professionals in the industry go to meet and mingle. So go to a few of these meetups, introduce yourself to some people, and once you start making connections with some of them, ask them if they will be your mentor and teach you how to do these things. Now, before you ask someone to be your mentor, make sure you do at least the initial learning on your own. If you're interested in real estate, go to the library, get a book or two about real estate, and learn at least the very fundamentals about real estate. You want to make sure that you have at least a fundamental knowledge. You want to make sure that that person that you are asking knows that you are actually serious about this. You have already taken it upon yourself to learn the fundamentals, and now you want to learn even more. And a lot of people are very receptive to helping young people out, especially once they see that they've already taken that initial step and are trying to learn on their own. And this can be especially true if you are somehow able to provide value back to your mentor. So if you're interested in real estate, maybe you volunteer to help them in the office or on sales calls or something like that, if you can tag along, and tell them that you'll be willing to work for free or maybe for minimum wage or something like that. That way your mentor is actually getting some value out of this as well while they're in the process of teaching you. And if you just simply don't have anybody in your life to be your mentor, well, I'll try to be your mentor. Leave a comment down below, ask me anything about personal finance or real estate or money or anything like that, and I'll do my best to give you some good, solid financial advice. Number 3, start early. One of the best things about being young is that you have a long runway ahead of you. Compound interest has been described as being the 8th wonder of the world. Compound interest will make you rich if you give it enough time to do its thing. If you were to ask 100 different people in their 40s, 50s, or 60s what is probably the single biggest investing mistake that they made, the overwhelming majority will probably say that they wish they had started investing earlier. The earlier you start has a dramatic effect on the total amount of money that you will have in retirement. So if we assume a 9% rate of return, which is roughly what the stock market averages, if you start investing when you are 20, you only need to put in about $135 per month in order to retire a millionaire. But if you start when you're 30, that number more than doubles and goes up to about $340 a month. And if you wait until you're 40 to start investing, you need almost $900 a month to put into your savings in order to retire as a millionaire. So as you can see, the later you start, it has a dramatic effect on the amount of money that you need to save in order to achieve the same results. Now, the goal here when you're young isn't to necessarily worry about how much you're saving. Obviously, you would like to save as much as you can, but you just want to get yourself in a good routine, a good habit of setting aside at least a little bit of money every paycheck into some sort of a retirement account, maybe a Roth IRA or something like that. And I know when you're 18, 20, 30 years old or whatever, you don't really want to think about retirement. That just seems so incredibly far away. But I promise you, you will not regret doing this. Number 4, education is key. And when I'm talking about education, I'm not saying that you need to be the valedictorian of your high school class or that you need to go to college or anything like that. When I'm talking about an education, I mean you need to have a skill, some sort of a skill that sets you apart and makes you unique. So if you're working at Walmart and you're stocking shelves overnight, there's really nothing unique about that job. If you were to quit, then they've already got a stack of applications sitting on their HR director's desk, just waiting for a spot to get hired. So as soon as you quit, they're just going to take one of these other people, give them your spot, spend an hour or two to train them, and they're off and running again. Now, there's nothing wrong with working at Walmart stocking shelves or anything like that. We need people like that. But the point of this whole situation is the more replaceable you are, the less money that you will be able to command in return. So instead, you want to try to set yourself up with some sort of a skill. Maybe that's going to college. Maybe that's going and getting some sort of a certificate at a trade school or something like that. Maybe learn to be a plumber, welder, electrician, something like that. Or maybe it means going off and doing your own thing. You can learn a lot of coding online, and a lot of coding jobs don't necessarily require a degree, they just require the skill. So if you can learn the skill, that will set you up for success. And like I said, you want to be as indispensable and irreplaceable as possible. So in order to do that, sometimes it's beneficial to narrow your focus. For example, there's a lot of people that are mechanically inclined and they can work on cars. But the average car mechanic doesn't really make a whole lot of money. The average is maybe somewhere in the $40,000 to mid $40,000 a year for a car mechanic, because there's a lot of people that can work on cars. But there's far fewer people that can work on airplanes. Even though it's roughly the exact same job, they're technically not qualified to work on airplanes. And that's why an airplane mechanic typically makes roughly twice as much money as a car mechanic. Number 5, take a good hard look at who you're surrounding yourself with, your friends. Now, it's often been said that you will end up as the average of your 5 closest friends. Meaning that if you surround yourself with people that are extremely lazy, then chances are that you will over time start to become lazy. And if you surround yourself with people that are striving for success, then they will push you and that you will also strive for success. Now, I'm not saying that you have to stop hanging out with all of your old friends that you do nothing but, hang out and party with or anything like that. It's important to be young and have fun, but try to at least diversify who it is that you're hanging out with. So instead of spending all 7 days out of the week hanging out with this crowd, maybe spend a couple of days and introduce yourself to some new people, sort of the young professionals that are actively working to try to better themselves. Because if they're bettering themselves, they're also going to push you to better yourself. Number 6, focus on income rather than investing. Now, earlier we said that investing is incredibly important, and it is, but don't spend every waking moment trying to eke out an extra 1 or 2% in the stock market. Because when you're young, you probably don't have a lot of money. And so when you don't have a lot of money, even if you get phenomenal rates of returns in the stock market, you're still not going to have a lot of money. If you've only got $100 in the stock market and you get a 20% rate of return for the year, that's a phenomenal year. But on your $100, that means you only made 20 bucks. All it's going to get you is one lunch with your friends. So instead, invest your money, but focus primarily on earning more. Either picking up more hours at work, doing a little bit of overtime, reading some books, learning new skills, something that will enable you to, in the long run, make more money at your job. And then you're going to take that higher income earning potential that you now have and funnel that back in and start investing that. And the last piece of advice that I would give to young people is to stay single as long as you can. And I know it's frustrating. Maybe you've already met the guy or girl of your dreams and you want to get married and start having kids and have a family and all of that stuff. And all of that stuff is great stuff, don't get me wrong. But why not wait maybe an extra year before actually taking that plunge? The sad reality is that over 50% of marriages fail and end in divorce. And I know what people think. They're saying, yeah, but that's other people. We actually love each other. We like each other. And so we're going to be just fine. Divorce is everybody else's problem. Well, everybody else was thinking the exact same thing that you are. Divorce happens to everybody, especially when you're young. You're trying to figure out who you are as a person, and they're trying to figure out who they are as a person. And sometimes people's paths just kind of veer off in different directions. So even if you start life super successfully, you start a business and you start making a ton of money, well, there's a 50% chance that you're going to end up in divorce and you're going to lose half of your business. And things get super complicated if you start having children before you're ready. Kids are fantastic, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't have kids. I'm just saying wait until you are actually financially ready to have kids. Because I can guarantee you there is very few things in life that will set you up for long-term financial struggles than having a child before you're financially ready. It can be incredibly challenging for young couples just to put food on the table, to pay for daycare and diapers and all of the simple things when they're not already financially stable enough. And things can get a little bit more complicated still if you combine the two. So now you are a single mother or a single father. Maybe you're paying child support or something like that. Make sure before you start having kids that you are actually ready to have kids. So that's going to do it for us today, folks. My 7 biggest financial tips or pieces of advice that I would give to teens or early 20s that are just starting out their financial path. If you found this video useful, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. And as always, I'll see you all again next time. Thanks.